Alright, so to make this ring I have some wonderful raw materials. First up is this veneer. This is a raw, unbacked wood veneer, and the species is California redwood burl. Very beautiful veneer, can't wait to use this. Then I have a bog oak, again raw unbacked veneer. And then we've got some pieces of Dichrolam, which is available from ringsupplies.com. I've got 4 different varieties here. I like to call this first one Unicorn Chunder. Then we've got the classic Dragonfly's Eyeball, Golden Cabbage, and Mushrooms in the Woods. And for this ring, I think I'm going to go with this one. I think I'm going to go with the Golden Cabbage. I've been getting people asking me a lot of questions about how to find wood veneers like this, where to buy wood veneer, where I buy wood veneer. So I'm going to put links in the description. In the worst case scenario, just type in unbacked wood veneer on eBay, Amazon or Google and you will find plenty of shops selling the stuff. So the first step of making this bent wood ring was to prepare and bend some wood. So I took a metal ruler and a sharp craft knife and I cut 2 strips of the wood veneers that were about 10mm wide. And after cutting the strips, I needed to sand a taper into the ends of the strips, which would kind of make wrapping them around a former easier. So I took a piece of 240 grit sandpaper and sanded a nice taper into the end of each one of the strips, and making sure that the end of the strips of wood were as thin as a piece of paper. So with the wood cut and sanded, I just took some cold water in a pan and put the wood into the pan and left them there for about half an hour to soak. I mean, you can use boiling water, but honestly for these woods just cold water is plenty enough. After 20 minutes I took the strips of wood out of the water and then I wrapped them around quite a large socket and secured the wood in place with some masking tape and allowed the wood to dry. And the reason for doing this basically is it essentially trains the wood to want to be round and stay round. So you see that after drying overnight, I was left with 2 beautiful swirls of wood, which were then ready to begin creating my bent wood ring. The next stage of making the bent wood ring was the glue up. When you make a bent wood ring, essentially you're wrapping and gluing wood veneer around a former. This is a former that I made myself out of, I believe it was HDP round bar, and basically that makes the former non-stick, so the super glue you use won't accidentally glue the ring to the former, which is useful. So starting with the redwood burl, I wanted this to form the inside of the ring, and so I only needed one wrap of that wood essentially. I like to make my bent wood rings with a total of 3 wraps of wood. So for this one, the first wrap was the redwood burl. So I kind of cut off the excess wood that I wouldn't need, just so I had enough wood to make 1 wrap, and then glued that on around the former. And then it was time to move on to the bog oak, where I used 2 wraps, and I did the same again, did a little test, cut off any excess wood I didn't need, and then sanded a taper in the edge I just cut, and then proceeded to glue that around the redwood burl. I hope that all makes sense. A lot of people will be asking, what glue do you use? What glue did I use to, make the ring? And I just use medium thickness CA glue for everything. So if you're looking for recommendations of good brands to use, I always recommend Loctite. or if you are here in the UK, Chestnut Products has a fantastic medium thickness CA glue, and if you're in the US, then Starbond's adhesive medium thickness CA is also good, but any medium thickness CA should work fine. So yeah, I've wrapped and glued the wood up, just basically putting on a small amount of glue, spreading it around, and then sort of rolling the wood around the ring. And when that blank was made, I just sanded down the edges with a bit of 240 grit sandpaper until I was left with something like this. To make the ring nice and smooth, I used a few grits of sandpaper to sand tapers on the inside and outer edges, as well as just do a little bit of shaping and sand over the seams of the wood just to kind of make them blend in a little bit. And when I was done with kind of sanding every surface of the ring, then it was time to cut an inlay channel. There are a few different ways you can use to cut an inlay channel into a wooden ring. I chose to use the fastest one, which was using a parting off tool on my metal lathe. Really, I just wanted to show off some fancy new tools that I've acquired. So I actually mounted the ring onto a unimandrel from ringsupplies.com, which is a fantastic bit of kit. And then after kind of cutting the initial channel, I just used a basic file, a little needle file, to kind of clean up the edges of the inlay and make sure that it was plenty deep enough all around to accommodate the Dichrolam material. And after a few minutes of shaping and filing, I was left with something that looked like this. Time for that Dichrolam Inlay. So Dichrolam is essentially a dichroic acrylic foil, I guess is how you describe it, but it's very flexible and super easy to inlay. So all I did really was measure the width of the inlay channel I carved into the wooden ring, and then cut a slice of Dichrolam that was roughly about the same width as the inlay channel. Full disclosure, this actually took me 2 attempts, so I didn't get it right first time. But when I did, I then wrapped the Dichrolam material into the inlay channel and kind of made a note of where the seam would be, and then cut off the excess using my craft knife. I just tried to make that look sort of as seamless as possible. To actually inlay this material into the channel, I used medium thickness CA glue, which might come as a massive surprise to you, but basically just applied a little bit of glue into the inlay channel and then poked the Dichrolam material into the channel, and I had a really nice fit. So that was easy. I think that this is probably one of the easiest inlays you could do in a wooden ring, and it's also very interesting and visually stunning. So, on to finishing now. I've been doing YouTube for 5 years, and I've got to say my camera angles have never got any better, so apologies for this. But to finish the ring, I used medium thickness CA glue applied with a toothpick or a cocktail stick, whatever you want to call it, wherever you are in the world. I just applied a few small kind of droplets of the CA glue, spread them around the cocktail stick, and then lightly sprayed over the glue with an activator spray, which just helps to cure the glue quickly and avoid blooming. After applying 8 layers of glue to every surface of the ring, I had something that looked like this, which was ready for polishing. So to polish the inside of the ring without losing my fingers, I used this lovely finger saving jig from Thornhill Woodworks on Etsy. I basically pressed the ring into the holder, and then used a series of progressively finer wet and dry sandpapers with a bit of water to kind of smooth out the inside and each edge until it was completely, smooth and free of any kind of dimples or scratches. And after moving up to 1200 grit, I used a lovely bit of burnishing cream from Chestnut Products on the edge and the inside, just to bring out a beautiful shine. And then of course, after polishing the one side, flipped it over to polish the other side. To polish the outside, it's back over to that wonderful Unimandrel that I got from ringsupplies.com. I mounted the ring and then used progressively finer grits of wet and dry sandpaper, again to smooth over the ring and make sure that there were no low spots or high spots in the finish, and just kind of make it as smooth as possible, working through those grits. And when I got up to 1200 grit, again I used the burnishing cream from Chestnut Products, which brought it out to an amazing, beautiful shine. Time to do the squeak test. I would say that is polished enough. So that is how I made a bent wood ring with a Dichrolam inlay. I really think that this is one of the easiest inlays that you could do on a wooden ring. It also looks absolutely amazing, and there are a few different varieties of this material that I just think would look awesome. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you give this a try. If you do, then tag me up on social medias. I don't know, maybe you could follow my YouTube channel. Maybe you could leave me a comment. I don't know. I just hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.